Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're diving into a topic that, let's be honest, affects pretty much every single one of us at some point or another: procrastination and laziness. But we aren't going to be looking at modern productivity hacks or those super complex time management apps. No, instead, we're looking backward, like centuries backward, to uncover how ancient samurai philosophy can actually cure our modern struggles with getting things done. So if you've ever found yourself making these grand, sweeping plans but just completely failing to execute them, well, this explainer is going to fundamentally change how you view your own ambition. Okay, let's dive into this counterintuitive idea. From a really young age, we're constantly told to dream big, right? We're taught that having massive goals is basically the absolute prerequisite for success. But what if your big dreams are actually making you weaker? I know, it sounds totally backward. How could wanting something incredibly badly be the exact thing that's causing your inaction? Well, to understand this, we really need to look at a powerful piece of samurai lore that perfectly illustrates the hidden dangers of unchecked ambition. Section 1. The Trap of Dreaming. The Parable of Yuki. Let me transport you back to feudal Japan to meet a young samurai with a truly massive vision. So Yuki's ambitions were incredibly lofty. He wanted to master numerous weapons, learn the absolute most advanced strategies, earn unparalleled honor for his clan, and of course, win these great historic victories. These are incredible goals, and Yuki spent hours vividly speaking about his plans. He read countless stories of famous battles, literally visualizing himself right in the center of the glory. He truly believed, deep down in his bones, that just having this level of intense ambition would naturally, almost magically, lead him straight to greatness. He thought the desire itself was enough of an engine to get him there. But here is where reality sets in. Whenever the actual time came to train, Yuki the dreamer always managed to find excuses to avoid the hard work. You know the drill. He'd blame the weather, say he wasn't feeling 100%, or claim he just needed a bit more time to meticulously plan his training regimen before actually starting. And while Yuki was busy planning and waiting for those perfect conditions, the younger warriors around him were simply enduring the discomfort of daily training. They didn't care about the weather or their mood. And years passed. Those consistent, younger warriors completely surpassed Yuki in skill. Yuki was left deeply frustrated, entirely unprepared, and just full of regret. His dreams hadn't lifted him higher at all. They had actually become the literal weight holding him down. Section 2, the illusion of motivation, and why our brains actually reward us for doing nothing. Let's shift from the parable of Yuki to the very real psychology behind it. Let's define a concept called the gap. This is the treacherous space between what a person desires and what they're actually willing to do. Yuki's identity as a dreamer created this massive gap. He found a lot of comfort in simply imagining his future. But here is the psychological trap. The more he spoke about his grand plans without ever acting on them, the more his mind rewarded him as if he had already achieved something. Seriously, just talking about his goals released the exact same feel-good chemicals as actually doing the hard work, which created this completely false sense of achievement without him shedding a single drop of sweat. I want you to take a second and really let this sink in. Preparation without practice is simply disguised procrastination. Dreaming without acting is a quiet thief. It wastes time that can never, ever be reclaimed. The larger our goals get, the easier it is to feel completely overwhelmed by just how far away they are. So what do we naturally do? We delay the small steps. We tell ourselves that preparing to work is the exact same thing as working. But it's an illusion. And this brilliantly illustrates a core misunderstanding we all seem to have. We often buy into the myth that motivation is this passive spark, like a lightning bolt of inspiration that hits us out of nowhere, making us suddenly want to take action. But the samurai reality is completely flipped. Action brings momentum, and that momentum gives rise to the energy we mistake for motivation. Motivation isn't the spark that starts the fire, it's the flame that follows the action. You literally have to start striking the flint first. Section 3, Kaizen, the small steps. Guided by the way of the legendary Miyamoto Musashi, who fully understood that greatness is never built in sudden bursts of inspiration, Musashi embraced something called Kaizen Nomi, the way of small improvements. It's the philosophy that a mountain is climbed one single step at a time, not by standing at the bottom, staring at the peak, and wishing you were already up there. Now, the great samurai were known for dramatic, epic battles, sure, but they became strong through the incredibly humble, quiet discipline of daily practice. They trained not when they felt some sudden burst of motivation, but because training was simply their daily rhythm. It was a way of life. I absolutely love this metaphor right here.
To wait for motivation before beginning is like waiting for perfect weather before starting a journey. Think about just how profound that is. If you wait for the skies to be perfectly clear, no clouds, and the temperature to be exactly right, you might be waiting your entire life. Meanwhile, the people who are willing to just put on a coat and walk out into the rain, they are going to reach their destination light years ahead of you.
To really ground this, let's look at the brilliant progression of what we can lovingly call the lazy samurai student. Imagine a student who feels way too lazy for a brutal hours-long workout, so he commits to just step 1, practicing a single, tiny sword form each morning. Just one. His friends laugh at him. They tell him such a tiny effort is totally useless, but he ignores them and just continues. Soon, we reach step 2. The movement becomes completely automatic. Then step 3 kicks in. Through that tiny, quiet, daily repetition, his body slowly grows stronger and his discipline deepens. Months later, he hits step 4. Because he's built this unshakable foundation, he learns advanced skills with incredible ease. And those friends who laughed at him earlier? Yeah, they are still standing at the starting line, waiting around for motivation to strike. The smallest step executed daily carries vastly greater power than the grandest plan that just stays written on paper.
Section 4. The power of commitment, action over emotion. So how do we actually break the cycle of waiting?
So the crucial point is captured perfectly right here by the great samurai teacher Yagyu Munenori. The sword that waits for perfect conditions never leaves its sheath. It's so true, right? If you wait for the perfect right moment, the moment you feel totally rested, completely inspired, your coffee is just right, and you're perfectly prepared, you are essentially choosing to wait forever. Let's break down exactly why we do this. Why do we wait? At its core, the root of waiting is almost always fear. It's the fear of the physical or mental discomfort of starting when you feel tired. It's that heavy resistance you feel when there's a total lack of immediate rewards. True strength, however, isn't about magically avoiding those feelings of laziness or fatigue. I mean, literally everyone feels those. True strength is the ability to act and move forward straight through those feelings, especially when conditions are far from perfect. I really want you to internalize this next statement. Make it a mantra. I am not controlled by my feelings. I am guided by my commitments. This right here is the ultimate samurai antidote to procrastination, because having strength does not mean waking up and saying, hey, I feel like doing this today. Strength means looking at the work in front of you and saying, I will do this whether I feel like it or not. You absolutely must stop handing over the control of your future to your fleeting emotions, and instead you've got to place your absolute trust in your habits. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Will you continue to wait around for motivation, or will you draw your sword today? Remember, readiness is just an illusion. Don't be the dreamer stuck at the bottom, just staring up at the peak of the mountain. Look down at your feet, take that one small step, and trust the momentum to carry you forward. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Start small today, and I'll see you next time.